If you have been feeling very uninspired as of late, your passions, interests, hobbies just aren't doing it for you anymore, or anything's not doing it, we feel like we have lost the zest for life. Or maybe at one point you were receiving a lot of downloads and insights and very forward movement, putting a lot of projects together, having a lot of fuel. If we have been feeling out of whack in those areas, it's probably because you have an imbalance in your sacral chakra. This is the houser of our emotions, creative flow, a lot of our divine feminine energy, even if you're a male. It holds so much of our life force energy, birthing things into existence, whether it's children or your creative projects. Also the houser of our emotions. So if you have been feeling very heavy and bogged down, or even like porcupine needles in your body feel crunchy, it's probably us needing to process our feelings. They are crystallizing and hardening in our chakras and our meridian lines, and that is why we feel this way. If this is you, and you're like, well dang, how do I get out of this funk? I am hosting a shamanic journey for your sacral chakra coming up in the next couple of weeks. You can go ahead and register for it in my bio in the comments. If you want to see what one of these journeys is like, I recently hosted one for the root chakra, which stick around and then you can watch that one. And there's a lot of messages and downloads and insights that will be beneficial for you as well. Hey babe, I am super excited to get into this root chakra healing journey with you. Our root chakra is over safety, security, groundedness, stability, rootedness with Mother Gaia and the earth plane. I wanted to show off my plant babies for some extra grounding as we go through this journey together, and I want to thank you for allowing me to be your fairy guide. When I went into your energy field, I met with your root chakra. Okay, so I want to explain something about that as well. Everything has consciousness, and if you ask it to speak to you in a human form, or sometimes even an animal form, it can make it a lot easier to communicate with one another. So that is how I was envisioning your root chakra, so we could have a two-way conversation. So we started walking on this pathway that was full of tiny pebbles, and we were both walking barefoot. It was creating a lot of sensory input coming up through our feet. And this is when both of us took a moment to pause and we could feel water flowing underneath the ground, underneath the dirt. This is when me and your root chakra actually went into the ground and we saw this worm that was like slinking around like this. Worms in shamanism are meant to symbolize them giving nourishment to the earth, you know, because they like eating the dirt or whatever it is they eat, and then they poop and then it's fertilizer. They also receive nourishment from the earth, so it is a balanced give and take. It's also representing the reminder of us being stewards of the earth, good stewards, those caretakers, if you want a different word there. If you've ever seen a mole rat tunnel, we started digging further into the ground, and you see this little circle here where it's like one of their little homes, and that's where we ended up. Not necessarily in a mole rat tunnel. I'm using this for the imagery so you can see what the pocket in the ground looks like. Your root chakra looked at me and said, I want to plant something. I said, what do you want to plant? And they said a special seed, and then opened up their hands, and inside of it was what looked like a peach pit. So if you've eaten through one and it has like this big seed and it has like fuzzy things all over it, well, that's the kind that they were holding. And so me and them, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase that, me and them put the seed into the grounds and covered it up with the dirt, and we lit a fire, like a campfire, and started putting our hands around where we had planted the seed, and we were pouring energy healing into the space. The fire was representative of giving life to something. Then your root chakra looked at me and said, it's time. We both came out of the dirt completely, like back on the surface. This huge beanstalk, like from Jack and the Beanstalk, started growing up into the sky. We started climbing up it. I was like, okay, nursery rhyme. Okay, and when we got to the top of it, there was all these clouds everywhere, and I said, where are we? Your root chakra said, the reservoir. We started walking and came up to a waterfall. your root chakra held a teacup out and like in the water. Got some in there and then handed me a cup, and then they had a cup themselves. They said, okay, now it's time to drink. So we were drinking the water, and this is representative of replenishing your cup. You started, or your root chakra started growing tree limbs and branches out of your chest, and it started going over your entire body, and you started freaking out a little bit, and I was like, hey, it's okay, it's meant to be. And this is a lesson in trust and surrender, which also has to do with our root chakra. Me and your root chakra were taken to a forest, and we started walking around, and the tree was grounding us into that next chapter. So we're walking around. I said, what do you see? Your root chakra closed their eyes, and they could hear chipmunks in the leaves running around on the ground. Instead of just listening, however, they could actually visualize the chipmunks in their mind's eye, their spiritual eyes. This is supposed to symbolize being present in your body and slowing down so you can interpret more information, because this is when your root chakras are getting a little antsy about finding more answers. And I said, it's okay. Take your time. We are not in a rush. And as they had their eyes closed, they were taking some deep breaths in. And your root chakra said, I can hear her. She's calling me. And I said, okay, great. Let's follow the voice. As we were walking, we came up to Mother Gaia in this enormous form of hers. And she had her arms stretched out really wide to receive us. And she said, my beloved. I grabbed your root chakra's hand and said, come on, let's go. And this is when they started getting really nervous. And you might need some tissues for this next chapter we're going into. Okay, so heads up. So they were getting really nervous, and I said, why are you feeling that way? The root chakra said, I am undeserving of her affection, talking about Mother Gaia. I asked, well, why do you think that? This is when your root chakra started getting really upset to the point of going nonverbal, and I came in to provide comfort and say, hey, it's okay. I'm here, you're loved, you're safe. Everybody's okay, it's chill. And that helped regulate your central nervous system. Part of the lesson here is vulnerability. I would assume that sometimes that's a little bit more difficult for you, maybe because you were not taught that being vulnerable is a strength. That can be from parents, teachers, guardians. It can be societal, cultural, come from religion, but it is often seen as a weakness. And you probably work through a lot of that, obviously, to be able to go through a healing experience like this, but there's still some remnants of that. And so that's where we repair some of that together through this healing. I asked again, why do you think that you are undeserving of Mother Gaia's love? Articulating it wasn't coming very easily, so I said, how about I astral project into your energy field, talking to your root chakra, and see what's going on. That might be a little bit easier. And this is when I started crying because your root chakra was like bawling. And the reason that you were having difficulty articulating it is because there's some different timeline things going on, so it wasn't all at the forefront of your own consciousness in this incarnation, but we'll get deeper into that. When I went into your root chakra's energy field, there was a person that was in there, and I said, who are you? And this being said, I waged war on Earth. Basically, this person is a manifestation of different timeline experiences in your Akashic records. And this is from planetary devastation, overconsumption, violence, or mistreatment against plants, animals, or people. I'm not saying that's the type of person you are here now, but as we are all from source and different perspectives of it, we do have all ties to one another. And so in this moment, you were feeling the pain of participating in that and saying, oh, I don't deserve to be in Mother Gaia's presence or to receive her love, because I have done damage to her and her children, whether that's plants, animals, or people. I said, I see. You are a manifestation of guilt. Because when there's a lot of energy and attention being pointed at something, it can give birth to its own consciousness. Just like how I was talking to your root chakra beforehand, now I'm talking to the culmination of guilt not only in this incarnation, but multitudes of incarnations having to do with planet Earth specifically. I held out my hand to guilt and said, Mother Gaia would like to speak with you. And they took my hand, which was great. And then we popped out of their field and back into the area where there was Mother Gaia and your root chakra, and now it's me and this manifestation of guilt. Guilt said, I am so ashamed. Mother Gaia walked over and said, who are you today, right now, in this moment? And guilt looked over at your root chakra, and your root chakra had this beautiful, radiant energy like the sun. Guilt said, that could not possibly be me. And Mother Gaia said, well, it is. And that is how I see you. We were actually looking through Mother Gaia's perspectives at your root chakra, which is you, who I'm talking to right now. That's a part of you. That is how she actually sees you, even with that guilt up inside of you. Mother Gaia has a message for you. She says, what you did yesterday, and what she means by yesterday is anything in your past history from this incarnation or different ones. She said, what you did yesterday does not define who you are. What matters is how you choose to move forward. I will always love you, and I'm so proud of the person you have grown to become. Basically, she was saying, I don't care about any of that. You have become a very self-aware, evolved being, and that is you dedicating your time, energy, and efforts not only to yourself, but also being a steward of the earth. We all have made quote-unquote mistakes in life, but it's what we choose to do with that soul lesson, and if we're going to make a different choice in the future, and that is what you have done. I mean, that's very evident with you signing up for this. Like, I want to be at my most optimal and healed and balanced, a grounded, rooted self, not only for myself, but for the people in my family or in the greater community collective. This is when all of us started hearing wind chimes playing, and that is representative of a changing of the tides. Mother Gaia walked over and grabbed Guilt's face like this and said, who do you want to be instead? This is a process of de-identifying. Initially, that manifestation was saying, I am guilt. And with Mother Gaia saying, who do you want to be? Then the realization comes, oh, I have guilt. It's something that I am experiencing. It's not something that I am. Mother Gaia said, it is your choice who you want to be. This is when guilt said, I am going to be stewardship instead. That is my new identity, which is symbolic of making a different choice, of growing and evolving. Like, yeah, I could just seep in guilt. Who is that helping though? I can just pour more time and energy into being a steward of the earth. Stewardship, the new energy in your field, said, just as you take care of us, we will take care of you. Talking to Mother Gaia. Just as you take care of us, we will take care of you. And the we was talking about your root chakra, and then now stewardship, and then you. Who I'm talking to right now. You remember that worm that we talked about in the beginning, the one that was squiggling around in the dirt? Well, an enormous worm popped out of the ground. I'm talking huge. If you have seen Dune and like the giant sandworms or the ones from like Beetlejuice, that's how big this worm was. And then when it came up out of the ground, it was up underneath our feet. And so you and me and stewardship, the energy now in your field, we're all sitting on the back of this worm. And your root chakra said, onward, talking to the worm. And then we all started riding off into the sunset with one another. And Mother Gaia was smiling and waving to us, wishing us well on our next chapter, our next adventure. This was not only a healing for your root chakra, but also that manifestation of guilt that had been built up from multitudes of different timelines. And it is not necessarily allowing you to blossom into the steward of the earth plane that you really want to be. because guilt sometimes can be a motivator to make effective changes, and that can be beneficial in the beginning, but as you get deeper into your healing journey, what's going to be even better is self-acceptance and forgiveness. And then what's even higher above that is having a really good self-concept and letting go of things that have happened in the past and just creating a blank slate and saying, I'm going to just make different choices moving forward. Okay, and you already have. That's another thing. Okay. This is not me or Mother Gaia coming in and saying like, oh, you're not being a good environmentalist right now. This is about the other timelines, okay, where your soul has not been as evolved as it may be right now in certain aspects. And so that was Mother Gaia's point in the whole experience with one another. I see you as a radiant being because that's who you are right now. I'm not concerned with all of that other stuff. Okay? All that matters is you right now in this current state, and you're awesome, and I'm sending you blessings on your way into the sunset with a big old worm. So she is super happy, and I'm glad that we could facilitate this healing today because it was taking off a huge weight out of your root chakra and recentering some identities that you were carrying in there. So now we have stewardship as a conglomeration of those different timelines. I would love to hear if any of the symbolism was very specific synchronistically for you. Maybe the worm, the beanstalk that we climbed up, the chimes, or even talking to Mother Gaia herself. Let me know in the comments what was most relevant for you, your biggest takeaway, how you are feeling now, and I want to thank you again for allowing me to be your fairy guide on this journey. It was so much fun. The symbolism was really great to interpret, and I'm wishing you a very magical day.